3, 2, 1. Action. Woo. All right, guys. My name is JP Hovey. This is super weird to be doing because it's weird just talking into the screen. So I'm going to try my best. And I'm not going to make this thing about me for longer than it has to be, but I feel like you guys need an introduction. I'm JP. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. The main purpose of these little episodes I want to start doing is because I'm super passionate about trying to grow the popularity of tennis. And the new Netflix documentary Breakpoint just came out, which I think is super interesting because of how well it did for the F1 Drive to Survive series. It's skyrocketed the sport. I'm a pretty average tennis fan, so I feel like a lot of people watching probably have my understanding of tennis, maybe a little bit less since I've gotten into it over the last 2 years. But in 2019 is when I started to get into it. I was working at IMG Academy, which is like a sports boarding school, and it first got famous off of tennis, but now they're more known for football and basketball and all these things. But, greats like Andre Agassi and all those guys went to IMG, and it's like that era, the 80s, the 70s, 80s, 90s-ish era of tennis used to be popping. It was the sport. Guys are on magazines. Guys are being followed around by paparazzi. They're dating supermodels. They're doing all kinds of stuff, and tennis was the sport. And the fascinating part about that, in my head, I don't even know if there's any kind of connection between it at all. But David Falk was one of the top tennis agents in the world during that era. And David Falk is more well known for being Michael Jordan's agent. And everybody called Michael Jordan crazy for hiring Falk because it's oh, he comes from tennis. What does he know about? He doesn't know anything about the NBA. He doesn't know anything about that. But he knew how to market the individual better than probably any NBA agent at that time because he's marketing individual athletes all the time. And it helps when Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Of course, you're going to do well, but it takes talent to scale the way Michael Jordan scaled the Jordan brand. But I feel like ever since that switch was made, tennis slowly started to decline in America. I don't really know too much information about the other countries and how they view tennis, and I know it's popular in Australia, but hopefully we all just learn together. Excuse me. And so basically we're just me diving into the Breakpoint documentary, and episode 1, we're just here in my room in Nashville, Tennessee, where I currently live. I'm a producer for another podcast with Barstool Sports called Bussin' with the Boys. It's 2 NFL players, Will Compton, Taylor Lewan. Subscribe, rate 5 stars. But yeah, I live in Nashville now. Be interesting to see what this whole thing looks like at episode 50. Either I might still be in the same apartment, or maybe, who knows, this could be my full-time thing, traveling around the world with the tour. But let's get into it. Episode 1. The anticipation was crazy. The trailers were dropping. Not a lot of activity on Twitter, in the Twitter sphere outside of tennis Twitter about the show. And they chose the most polarizing athlete with Nick Kyrgios in episode 1. Kyrgios is probably, if you're going to show somebody a tennis player and try to get them into the sport, you probably should show them Kyrgios because he does all the trick shots. He yells at the refs. He yells at the other players. He yells at the fans. He asks fans for advice mid-serve. And this is a high-pressure, high-level top tournaments. Goes to fans. Old ladies ask him, hey, where do you think I should hit this? Ace.
Championship points. And is he going to ask someone in the crowd where he should serve? We've seen it the last couple of matches. He's got the orders. There we go.
And nobody has ever done that on the tour that I'm aware of. Maybe they have, but, who really cares about the facts? Yeah, Kyrgios, I mean, he's the guy. A lot of people hate him. He's just the furthest thing from country club, furthest thing from tennis that you would picture. Like tennis, you picture stuffy and almost like, coming from me, I played all the different sports growing up, and I love playing tennis, but I didn't grow up playing tennis. And you just kind of think country club, brats, rich, like say what's up to him at school, but you also know like, I'm not going to hang out with this guy on the weekend type deal. But that's not true. That's a stereotype as I've gotten to know some of the players. But Kyrgios is the furthest thing from any of that. At Wimbledon last year, he gets in trouble because he's wearing red shoes. You're only supposed to wear all white. And he just could care less. Made it to the Wimbledon final. A super fascinating thing about Nick Kyrgios, and I promise I'm going to get into the breakpoint stuff soon because we're already 6 minutes in. But he doesn't have a coach. He pretty much just travels around with his crew, his boys, his boy, really, his best friend, which is unheard of. Top player, no coach, legitimately no coach, and says he doesn't want to coach because he's looking out for them. He knows he would be too difficult to coach, and he yells at people. He yells at the guys in his box and his girlfriend in the box. Not that he's yelling at her, but he's yelling in the direction of the box.
40-15, 40 love. Why do you stop? Why? Why do you? Say something.
Yelling at himself, just taking it out. But it's just he's super fascinating. And episode 1 is centered around the Australian Open. And assuming, I probably shouldn't be explaining it like this because I need to assume that you have watched it. Everybody that's hopefully watches this video has already watched the documentary. And again, it's Breakpoint on Netflix. It's fine. It's good. You need to listen to it. Then we can all share our thoughts. I'll start doing these live. The chat will get popping off. It'll be good. But anyways, we started at the Australian Open. It's centered around Nick Kyrgios. Most entertaining player. First scene is, maybe not first scene, but one of the first scenes is Nick Kyrgios as a kid. And he's just dancing. He's a little chunky. I think, Nick and his family would admit that. He's a little chunky. He's chunky. He's dancing. He's having a good time. He's probably like, 10 or something. He's laughing. He sees the camera on him. And he keeps dancing. And he stops and he just goes. And it freezes. And then it zooms out and goes into Nick's thing. And as far as starting a documentary, I don't know how you can start much better than that. Like, that's hilarious. And it's so on par with Kyrgios. The dude is hilarious. One day I'm gonna interview him with this thing. Maybe he'll be the co-host, but we will bring Nick Kyrgios on here. I hope maybe Nick Kyrgios will see this and he'll reach out on Instagram, or I'll reach out on Instagram. Hey, come on. But hilarious first scene, flicks him off. You're like, that is freaking Nick Kyrgios. Even at 10 years old, he's like that. All right, thank you. Thanks to the greatest app and website of all time, we're able to show you guys this hilarious video that I'm talking about. When Nick is young Nick, to start it out. Yes, sir. What is on his head? You know the kind of kid this man was when he was young and in class. So funny. Anyways, we go from that. And they get into all the Nick stuff, right? Let me break down the biggest points from the Kyrgios episode, I think, that I would get into. In my personal opinion, my favorite part, one of my favorite parts of Kyrgios episode was showing his relationship with Kokkinakis. Kokkinakis, yeah. Kokkinakis. When they're just on the shuffleboard, absolutely broing out. It's just like, wow, these two, they're just true boys. And they're talking about, how they used to be going off of 3-4 hours of sleep before playing matches. There's stories about Kyrgios out there. Like, I think it was before he beat Nadal or before he was about to play Nadal. He was literally like out the night before and then beats a top 3 player of all time after a night out. And they're talking about, man, I don't know how we used to do this. Like, we used to be 3 hours of sleep a night. And it's like, yeah, we were just looking forward to the night out so much that we were just ready to kind of like get through the day again, which when you see these guys' lives and just how draining it can be, like you can't picture when you'd even have time to party. But I don't know, like their relationship just seems super genuine, and it was just cool to see. Like, I'm curious to see how other people feel about Kokkinakis. I don't really know much about him up until this documentary, but he just seems super cool and like a very bright spot in Kyrgios' life. Like, you could tell he was way more relaxed and just genuinely happy to be spending time with Kokkinakis. God, I cannot say his name. Thanasi Kokkinakis. Whatever. I will get that right. Sorry, bro. Let me look it up right now, actually. Howtopronounce.com, baby, when in doubt. Thanasi Kokkinakis. Thanasi Kokkinakis. Thanasi Kokkinakis. Dope. The fact that they won the Grand Slam, let me rewind. There was one celebration that these two hit that I need them to speak on, because I paused. I didn't pause it. I didn't pause it. I just paused it in my brain. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? Nick, we see your girl in this documentary, but the way that Thanasi just kind of low key jumped into your arms, and maybe that's the connection that gets you to win a Grand Slam. So who am I to hate? But the celebrations we could work on. Another thing I have beef with tennis players, it was just Kyrgios and Kokkinakis are making me think of the chest bumps in doubles. I've seen multiple of the guys do it. And then they don't jump very high. They hit each other kind of soft. Like, tennis players, we have to switch. Matter of fact, hang on. I'll show you what you need to be doing. We got to switch to the shoulder bump. We got to hit the shoulder bump. It would be so much better. It's so much cooler. Just trust me. I know I'm not a professional tennis player. I know I've never won a doubles match or nothing, but y'all got to trust me on that one. We got to get rid of those belly bumps, man. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to get you some more swag. Anyways, it was cool to watch like their little doubles journey. There's doubles journey through the Australian Open to play against two Australians, which whoever they were playing against, I don't know if it was Purcell or someone, but the mullet. We need more mullets on tour. Mullets on tour would be massive. JJ Wolf sometimes he rocks an incredible mullet. I saw Martin Dam, shout out the boy. He chopped up a little mullet in the off season, which was, we need more mullets. Bring them back. Maybe Kyrgios will get one. But yeah, chest bumps. Get rid of the chest bump, switch to the shoulder bump, and more mullets. Also, I keep losing my trains of thought, or keep jumping around everywhere. Hearing Kyrgios be so open about, I lose my shit, and then everything just like shuts down, blah blah blah, is super refreshing, because when you do watch him play, you're like, bro, what are you doing? Like, stop. You're just like, it looks like an all-on meltdown. And I've always kind of been on the side of, like, is he really melting down, or is he playing this game with his opponent? Like, I'm going to freak out. I'm not going to play, like, hard on the next 3 points, and then all of a sudden I'm going to hit like a ESPN top 10 shot. And again, I need Kyrgios on so I can ask him these things. Like, there has to be he has to be playing a little bit of mental warfare out there and knowing that it's throwing guys off when he's yelling at his box, yelling at umps, throwing water bottles. Which is a clip you guys need to check out when he launches a water bottle at the ref's chair, and the ref looks down on him, makes this loud bang. The ref's like, what do you do? What just happened? Oh, my fault. It slipped.
Slipped out of my hand. It slipped out of my hand. Yeah, but it slipped out of my hand. Yeah, but it slipped out of my hand. Yeah, but it slipped out of my hand. I was trying to drink and it slipped out of my hand.
Yeah, man said that water bottle slipped out of his hand 15 yards. This is just all time. You love it. I love it so much. But yeah, and it's cool. It was also funny to see Kokinakas talk about it. He's like, I'm watching Nick during the play, and I can tell he's losing it. Like, if there's a time to keep it together, it's right now, please. And it's just funny because you know how, like, if you're just with your boys, and there's always one friend in your friend group that is just going to have a meltdown, and you're like, bro, please, like, why here? Why right now? Can you not do this just like a little bit later? We're about to win a whole bunch of money, and we're about to be Grand Slam champions. Like, chill out. And so it's just funny to hear him say that, like, I have just a few moments. If he doesn't calm down, it's over. And then they end up winning, and it's just super, I don't know, it's just cool. It's a great feeling for Kyrgios because probably my favorite part of Kyrgios' episode was them kind of talking about his rise and how he beat Nadal when he was 19 at Wimbledon. And he was like a nobody before that, relatively like speaking. Kyrgios has beaten Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray when they were all in their primes, pretty much. Maybe Federer was like just out of his, but he beat all of the top guys. And he's one of the few people that was able to do that in those points of their careers. And this is a guy without a coach. He does not have a coach, and he's beating the top 4 people. You know, whoever his junior coach was just being driven mad by this guy. But it's amazing. It's like, it's one of the more impressive athletic accomplishments, like, of all sports. And like, I just don't think people realize how crazy that is without the coach to do that. But he was beating Nadal. He beats Nadal, and then they show these scenes of all these cameras on him. And he's just like standing there waiting for his luggage, and 19 years old, all of a sudden nobody cares, and now you've beaten Nadal, and there's camera crews following you everywhere, and like, you're just not prepared for it at all. And if you already have a temper, that's the worst. Everybody's watching. They know you play fun. You lose a couple matches, and you just shut down. You're 19 years old. Like, kids are just getting drunk in college at 19, and you're being followed, and it's hard because Nick talks about it in the thing, like, family and friends is so important to him, and spending time with them, like, he values that more than playing tennis. He wants to be with his family, and being from Australia, those guys have it the hardest on tour because, I mean, you live in Australia, it's like 23-hour flight to play all the tournaments in the U.S. If you're going to fly to Europe, I don't know how long that flight is, but it's not fun. It's not as easy as it is for guys in the U.S. to go to Europe, or somebody from Spain then going to play a tournament in Switzerland. Like, you're going all the way from Australia. All your friends, it's different time zone. Like, mentally, it would be exhausting. And if you can't relate to him when he says that stuff, and like, you question, man, how could you like waste this talent and all these things? It's like, dude, I mean, these guys are away from their families for the whole year. I mean, they have like a 2-week off season, and then you go play the Australian Open. It's not an exaggeration, 2 weeks. Put that into you're 19 years old. It's insane. And so it makes sense when Kyrgios in the documentary says, like, if I win a slam, I'm done. Like, I don't think he would be done, but it makes sense why he says it. I do think he will win a slam before it is all said and done, because he's, a world-class talent. But it was cool to see, and it's just so cool to see 27-year-old Nick Kyrgios talk about 19-year-old Nick Kyrgios and how different it is, but also how there are still some similarities. And his girlfriend, she seems dope. She was cool. Like, good for Nick, because I know that he's going through that thing with his ex-girlfriend right now. But she seemed like a cool girl, and it was just like a pretty funny, open. The scene is she's sitting there in the box with Nick's manager friend. I need to do a better job at looking these names up, and he's just explaining tennis to her, like, okay, so it's the first of 6 games, and because this was like 2 months into their relationship, it's like the first 6 games. She's like, oh, okay. And so I can only imagine how she's feeling. She doesn't even know what's going on, and then all of a sudden Kyrgios is looking up at the box, telling them to F off and all these things. She's probably like, what is happening? But it was cool. Like, let me see what else I had written down. Oh, yeah. Medvedev. When they show, ultimately Kyrgios lost in that second round, which can you imagine if he would have won the Australian Open when this documentary was being filmed? Oh, my gosh. Technically he did win, I guess, but he played Medvedev in the second round. Medvedev is like one of the best players in the world right now, and of this new generation, he's like the guy, one of the guys. And Medvedev, low-key, we'll talk some trash now. There's that clip in there. I'll try to put these clips in this video as I'm talking, but when I don't know if it was after he won or maybe he broke him and like knew he was going to win, and he did sort of like a kind of like the crowd, like, what y'all think this is, man? Like, I do this. I really do this. And it's funny because it's so subtle, and the camera's like, when you're just watching the stuff on ESPN, like if you're a casual sports fan and you'll see the highlights of the match, you will not see that. And it's hilarious. Like, that's the stuff they need to be pushing out. Like Medvedev doing that to Kyrgios. Literally just 2 weeks ago, he was losing to Djokovic, and Djokovic was, like battling some sort of injury, and Medvedev is like smirking after, like, Djokovic hits an unreal shot and then kind of like holds his leg, and you're like, okay, like, are you hurt? Maybe you are, but how did you just hit that freaking shot on me? I don't know. Like, they need to show more of those highlights from the matches, because like Medvedev talking some trash is fun, man. Nobody talks trash and does those little things. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Medvedev, but I appreciate the banter. I appreciate the chirping. More people could take note of Daniil. Let's see what else we got. Ooh, yeah. The whole vibe of the Australian Open. I've only ever been to the Western Southern Open in Cincinnati and the Miami Open, and that's it. Only tennis tournaments I've ever been to. Nothing's rowdy. In the clips from the freaking breakpoint with the Australian Open, dudes are in the crowd with their shirts off. Guys are slamming beers, yelling during the matches. Players are getting upset at fans. And, that stuff happens at the other tournaments, like the lower level tournaments. Lower level, even like, ATP 500 or the Masters events, like you're going to see more, which one day we'll get into the viral video of Dennis telling the fans to shut the F up. Shut the But none of the Grand Slams are like this. New York, like a U.S. Open, a tiny bit, but like French Open, God forbid, Wimbledon, anybody even, zips the top of their quarter zip down just a tad to get some air. You got the little dude from the royal family having to wear a suit, and it's July. He probably doesn't even care to be there, and I know he's just sitting there sweating like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I'm not about to stay in this suit and just get that yellow that yellow stain on the back of my white shirt for what? I'm 8 years old. Let me go run. Let me be a ball boy at least. But the Australian Open, not like that. So bucket list, I would love to be at the Australian Open next year. If you've been to the Australian Open, leave it in the comments. And it's just funny that I'm saying this, like, leave it in the comments, because nobody, like, it's not like I have a YouTube following, but I'm telling y'all, everybody watch this break point. They're going to come find these videos on YouTube, and we are going to take it to the moon. To the moon. And it's funny, I always just laugh when people, like, when guys on that stream, chat, hey, chat, what y'all think, man? Leave it in the comments. What do you think I should do? So I'm going to play into that. I like to joke. I don't take myself too seriously, and it's just funny to act like you're famous too. But anyways, just a little bit more. That food Kyrgios was eating at the end there with the fam. Unreal. And I mean, that would be the dope part with tennis. You get to go to all those different countries, try all those different foods, and that looked like a hitter. The last point is just kind of like it is in all of the episodes, but it's kind of understated. Understated in episode 1, in my opinion, after like becoming friends with some players and everything, who I will bring on the show. I just need to get better at doing this part first. The loneliness of tennis. I don't think people understand, man. Like, they're really just surrounded. They each have a team, so it's like usually these guys have like 3 people with them. Like sometimes their agent rolls along, but like 3 to 4 people. And for the most part, you're young on tour. Like, all these names you're hearing in this documentary are all in their early 20s. And think you're just with these same 4 people all year. Very rarely are they your age. So I'm just like trying to put myself in their shoes. If I was just hanging out with, I'm 27 right now, but like say, these guys, even the 27-year-old on tour, like if I'm with like a 40-year-old all year, I mean, I might love them, whatever, but they're not your boys. Like, you're not just kicking it with your boys. You're not having that mental break from the grind of the tour and tennis. Everything is tennis, and I know these people do like the best job about it, but I just feel like it would be so beneficial for these guys to have younger people with them, a part of their teams, just to keep things light and keep it loose and make it seem like, the world is not crashing and burning when you lose a match. Because if you got your boy with you or your best friend, you could lose your match, you'll be sad, and, they'll be there for you. But, like, at the end of the day, we're in Australia. We're in Melbourne. Like, this is dope. And if you're sad, like, let's hop on the game. Let's play Mario. Let's play Mario Kart. Let's play Super Smash Bros. Like, something that just is a disconnect, because it's a mental warfare all year for the tennis players. It's a fascinating part of the documentary, seeing their teams and seeing the ones that are like openly talking about their mental struggles and things like that. And I don't know. I just really think the tennis players would benefit from having like one younger person with them, just one of their friends even. And it's hard to afford at different levels. I'm just speaking to people that can afford it. And yeah, I think it would be huge for them. But I think that's all I have. Yeah. Nick's piss was when he's like FaceTiming his girlfriend trying to, I don't know if he was doing drug tests or whatever, but his pee. I mean, that looked fake. Like, bro, what are you doing? Just drinking juice all day and during your game? Like, that thing was muddy. Like, I wasn't sure if, there would be some sort of organism swimming around in that thing. Like, it would look like swamp water. His piss after the freaking match. I think that's about it. Things I wish would have been different in the show. I wish they would have gone more in depth on everything. Like, because Kyrgios is such an interesting person. Like, even just going in depth on his life. Like, the guy loves basketball. I watched a highlight clip of him playing basketball the other day. Like, it was just on his Instagram. Maybe I can pull it up. And my man is just getting buckets. And, like, because it's dope. The more you get to know the players, the more connected you are. And, that's the reason. That's how you grow a sport, by getting fans connected to the players. And it'll be interesting to see what this documentary does for them, for the popularity of the game, because it has been struggling. And this is definitely a solid start. I have my own ideas, on how we could make the sport more popular in America. So before I end this video, I'll pose a question. If you are in America, can you name a current male American tennis player? And can you name a current female American tennis player? Serena Williams has retired, for those watching. But it's fascinating because, and this is the last thing I'll say, there are high school basketball players in this country, in America, that have bigger followings than the best American male tennis players. And tennis is a global sport. How does a high schooler who hasn't even gotten to the college level, hasn't even been exposed to that, have more of like a following on social media than the tennis people? I have some ideas. I think they could help. They could help the industry. So if you know somebody in the industry, let me know, because your boy's trying to get connected. Trying my best, man. I want to see everybody win. I want to see everybody eat. And I just think it would be so cool if, these are like cool dudes. These are nice guys that deserve spotlight. And if I could just figure out some way to help out and contribute to the growth of the game, and I'll be awesome. That's the goal of this whole thing, is just, I would love to be able to make an impact on the sport in America, globally, whatever, but it would be cool, and I think it's possible. But we got to get some people watching these videos, please. You don't even have to watch the video. Just turn it on, press play, press the like button, and we're all good. We're all good. All right, that is episode 1. My reaction to the episode 1 stuff. My reactions will get better. I'm going to start writing more stuff down, and I'm going to be way more scheduled out with these things and how I talk about stuff. So bear with me. Bear with me, please. I'm trying my best. But I appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate especially the people watching in the beginning. At ground zero, we are going to be able to do this. We will do this. We will take this thing to the top. The tennis industry needs us, everyone. They need us. So, yes, sir. I will be back for episode 2. Maybe I'll try to drop these every Sunday night. This is literally like I just was like, I need to start doing this. And this is me trying to do it. So maybe every Sunday night I'll drop a reaction video, and I'll be better at reacting. Appreciate y'all.